The 5th time I tried to end my own life. I found myself outside my own body, looking down at myself. I cannot prove what happened. I can only tell you what I experienced. I came back and I never attempted suicide again. This is a story about why I stayed. Now, before I continue, I just want to make something very, very clear. I will not be describing the method, the location, or the graphic detail. I'm sharing this because of what happened afterwards and the life I've lived since. This is my memory and my experience. I'm not asking anybody to believe or interpret it in the same way I do. And for a long time, I kept this to myself, but now I feel ready to tell my story. Now, PTSD was affecting me very, very hard, and I still didn't really understand it. But the 5th attempt ended up being different. Now, when other people looked at me, some people may have just seen me. The ones that knew me a bit closer and a bit better, they obviously see a massive change, starting to be withdrawn or angry and lashing out in some way, starting to drink more. Then I was on a lot of different medications where they was trying to get me stabilized. Now, I was trying to do normal day things, but you know, inside and you could say on the outside, I was struggling to cope. For me, well, explaining everything was very difficult. I couldn't really explain anything I was feeling. I had too much numbness, too much of not understanding what was going on. But the 5th occasion was very, very different. This occasion, I wasn't going to reach out to people. I was going to let it happen. Now I've come for a nice walk because this one, well, it's hard to talk about still because it's shut off. Well, I shut it off a long time ago. Now, the experience of what I remember, I had gone through, attempted to end my life. But all I remember is looking down at myself in this very dark room with a hazy glow. I remember seeing myself calm, relaxed, and peaceful, laying on my bed. But inside of me, I was screaming. I had so much emotion running through my body, and the emotional pain it caused me. I was in so much emotional pain, it was unbearable. But yet, I looked peaceful on the bed, and at that moment, everything seemed so real. I can still see it now, but the crazy thing is now I realise very quickly afterwards that I was definitely looking down on myself. So how close was I to death? But my soul, my body was fighting, and I don't really remember the moment I must have gone back to my physical body. Now, my first clear thoughts was sometime the next day, sometime in the morning, but daylight had already struck, it was there. And I can remember everything that happened, and I had this weird emotion come over me that what happened was real. So my physical body must have been safe. However, it wasn't. I woke up with carpet burns all over my legs and my arms. So I knew what my emotional part of the body was seeing was not real. What was real, the screaming, the pain, and I must have been thrashing around. On this attempt, there was no help. There was no treatment. I just recovered. And it was a few days before Christmas Day. I just had to take a couple of days out to recover and really process what my emotional and physical body went through. I kept it private because I was embarrassed I was embarrassed to share that story. I mean, there's loads of people that probably want to share their out-of-body experience, I don't know. But for me, I was embarrassed. And I was embarrassed because I made sense pretty quickly of what happened. Now, I knew something massively had changed on this attempt because, like I say, I didn't reach out for help or anything like that. On this attempt, I viewed death totally different because it was not the easy option. And I don't look at that lightly. And what I mean by that is, you know, I was ill. I was confused. I didn't understand myself. I didn't understand what the illness was. And everything around me was falling apart. I didn't know how to rebuild that. I didn't know who to reach out to properly. I looked at it as the only option for everyone. But now, after this, coming so close, your body or soul does not want to go unless it's time to go. And I fear that. And what I felt was my story isn't over. My reason for being here isn't over. So I had to do everything in my power to recover in some way, to have some sort of life again. And that gave me the drive to push forward. Because I realised if death is not an option, then I've got to live. And that fear, of course, stopped me from ever making an attempt again. I've done everything in my power then to try and have some sort of life back to the life I got today. And there's people that helped me on that journey, and they know who they are. And the experience did not magically fix my life, but something changed. And that fifth attempt became my last. Because if you look at me now, the life I would have missed, Jodie, family, kids, friends, the motorhome, the travel, veterans in action, somewhere I can contribute, being outdoors and finding purpose. And life's for touring, the adventures, the car. It was a long journey, and it still is a long road to recovery. I don't think we ever get fully as we were, but I'm accepting my new self. And in some ways, it's better than the old. And that's another reason why I share these stories, is because it's a good feeling, a selfish feeling when you help others. Part of my recovery was helping others in certain charities, disaster response stuff, and I use my skills for that. But when people tell you your story has helped me, helped them recover in some way, then my life was worth living. But all this I couldn't see when I genuinely believed my life was over. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I sharing this now? And it's not to glorify or romance suicide in any way. I want people to understand how convincing hopelessness can be. So just remember, a person can look okay while privately trying to survive. And people that appear strong just maybe need someone to ask twice, because your present feelings, the feelings you've got right now, is not your whole future. And what would it mean if your story just helped one person? Speak honestly and openly. You do not need to solve the rest of your life today. To reach the next person or the next safe moment, tell someone plainly, I am not okay. I'm not coping. I'm not safe on my own. Because needing help does not make you weak or a burden. Now, I cannot tell you exactly what happened to me that day or what anyone else should believe about it. I can only tell you what I experienced. I came back. Now, life didn't suddenly become easy, and there's been a lot of difficult periods along the way. But there's also been people, places, moments that I would never have known. And you know what? I'm grateful my story didn't end there. If you're struggling, please I'm begging you, don't carry it alone. Speak to someone. Use the support information that I put at the end screen and in the description. And if you'd like to continue this journey with me, get it out there. Subscribe to the Journey Unmasked. Thank you for listening.